Kylan's parents are coming over because they haven't seen them in a while and they want to spend as much time with Kylan before Xavier gets here. And in the confessional, Jason says that Kylan shouldn't be worried about trying to spend time with her parents since they have a baby on the way. Then Kylan goes on to say that they've spent time with their friends for the past 2 weeks, and he says because I won't see them for a year, and that's Kylan's exact point. She won't be able to see them as much because she'll be taking care of a baby just like he is. So the whole point is to spend as much time with people around them before the baby gets here. And I'm not sure what's different from friends to parents. It's still spending time with people before something major happens in your life. And Kylan says that everyone sees their parents, and Jason says that parents are not important and they treat her like a child, even though she is. But Jason says that she wanted to grow up and be treated like an adult. And what kind of just wows me about this is that Jason lives with his parents. So for you to say that, it's kind of like should not be coming from you because you live with your parents and you get to see your parents every single day. And if you have a good relationship with your parents, then you see them, you talk to the phone on them, you text them or something of that sort. But Kylan's not even doing that because Jason controls every aspect of her life. Then I also don't understand why he says parents are important, because you live with your parents. Your parents provide a roof over your head, they give you groceries, they let you do whatever practically. So for him to say that, it's kind of like if your parents were to go away today, you would be homeless and you would have nowhere to go. And I just think it's funny that he says that because he has his parents with him all the time. So I'm not sure why he would say such a statement of that sort. And in the confessional with Jason's parents, Heidi and Matt, his parents say that it's important that Kylan's parents feel welcome in their home, but they say that they believe Jason doesn't want to share Kylan with her parents, which is obviously the case. And this just lets me know that they're aware of Jason's behavior. They just don't do anything about it, or they don't care enough. I do think they care, but they don't do anything about it. And I feel like they could easily humble him and let him know that like this could all go away. But obviously they choose not to. And going to the scene, when Kylan's parents on the way to Jason's parents' house, they're in their car talking about how they don't understand why they always have to go over Jason's parents' house and why they can't never have events and get-togethers at their house. And they also want answers to why Kylan is not coming around, and they're not sure if it's Jason or if it's Kylan, but they feel like Jason is purposely keeping her away. In the confessionals, they say they haven't seen Kylan in a month, and it makes their mind wonder about what's going on, what she's doing, where is she? Because, at the end of the day, Kylan is still a child. She's only 17 years old, so her parents have every right to have that concern. They have every right to have that concern until they die. Still in the confessional, Kylan's mom says that she doesn't even know if Kylan knows that she cares about the pregnancy because she doesn't know how to tell or, let her know that she wants to be around and that she does care. But then she also doesn't want to sabotage the relationship with Jason and Kylan, and she just wants to spend time and be around and be involved, and her dad agrees with that, which I feel like she needs to sabotage the relationship because this is obviously a terrible relationship, and I feel like everyone can see it. They're just not choosing to do anything about it, and it makes me worry that one day will this go too far and they never did anything about it and they end up living with regrets. Next, we move on to Tiara and Dee. Tiara is back in Maryland. Her and Dee are in the nursery getting ready, and she found a doctor for her C-section, and her C-section is scheduled in 1 week. And she is doing a boho themed nursery, which a boho themed nursery, to be completely honest, I'm not 100% sure, but what I could find, it's like a minimalist type of style that uses neutral colors and browns and all that stuff. I'm gonna insert a picture of it because I am not good at explaining what boho is. She got the idea for her nursery off of Pinterest. Keep this in mind going forward to the next segments further in the episode. And going back to the scene, Dee says what if the baby comes out as a boy, and he believes that it's a baby boy even though it's a girl, and it is a girl. I guess he just really wanted a boy this time, which it was a cute moment, I guess, or maybe just to line up the scene before the storm comes. The confessional, they talk about how she had to go to the hospital and how they kept her for a little bit, but they cleared her to go back to Maryland. She also talks about how she got into a fight with Tara Tara over her wanting to borrow Tara's car so she could go to the hospital, and she ended up saying that Tara ended up apologizing and ended up admitting that she was wrong. Then Tara goes on to say that she will never apologize and admit that she's wrong, because I guess she likes being right, or likes the feeling of being right more so than actually being right. But going back to the scene, Tara's mom is supposed to be coming to help her before the baby comes, and she also supposed to be staying after the baby comes so she can help for a couple of weeks. And Tara is hoping Tara can come so she can meet the baby and also help her. So she's hoping Tara can make it, but she's not sure because I guess she feels like Tara is not dependable. Next we have Emerson and Mason. Emerson is in labor and it is 8 centimeters dilated, and she feels like she has to push. She had the epidural around 5 this morning, and she eventually fell asleep, and so did everyone else. And when she woke up, she felt like she was ready to push to the point where she can't even stop herself from pushing no matter what she tries to do. And she calls the nurse, and the nurses aren't there yet, and Mason and Emerson's grandmother are still sleeping, and she's just there by herself. And in the confessional, Emerson's mom, Erica, says that she has mom guilt since she felt like she needed to be at the hospital, but her and Emerson had a pregnancy 13 weeks apart, so Erica's baby is only around 3 months or so, so she felt the need to stay home. And going back to the scene, Emerson calls her mom to tell her what's going on, and Erica is just trying to support her through it since Mason and Emerson's grandmother are still sleeping. And Erica doesn't understand why they're asleep, and in the confessional with her husband's side, Erica says that she didn't really get to know Mason very well because Emerson was always going over to Mason's house, of course, because she had more freedom. So this is a red flag for Erica to see what type of father he's going to be since she really doesn't know him. And I think that was the mistake where she didn't take the time to get to know Mason, but I don't think she thought her daughter was going to get pregnant either though. And her husband's side says that there's no reason for him to be asleep since this is such an important moment in his life. Which I don't know if I necessarily disagree with this, because if you're 8 centimeters dilated, you're at the point where you're ready to push, as we can see. So I would put it past him, but I would not put this past somebody like Jason. So I'm not trying to be biased or anything, but I do feel like he should have been awake because it is an important moment. So I usually agree with Erica, but I will agree on this one. And maybe he did not purposely fall asleep and it just accidentally ended up happening. But she did say that they chose to sleep. So I don't know if I could personally, if I were a man and my girlfriend or whatever was in labor, I don't know if I would be able to sleep from the anxiety from my girlfriend having a child. And going back to the scene, Erica repeatedly calls Mason to see if he'll pick up the phone, but he is dead asleep. And Erica says this isn't a good way to start off your family, and there is a higher chance that he could miss the birth of his child, which she's not wrong, and I'll be lying if I say I wouldn't feel this way as a parent. Next, we move on to Jenna and Aiden. Jenna and her sister Alyssa are taking Luca to the park, and in the confessional, Jenna talks about how Luca took his first steps and is moving around and walking around, and how she's so happy. Then she goes on to talk about how her sister Alyssa was in Texas when she was pregnant with Luca. She came back home shortly after Luca was born. I'm not exactly sure what state her and Aiden live in. I'm not sure how far away Texas is from them. Jenna and Alyssa have a very close relationship, even though they have different dads. Jenna comes to Alyssa about everything, and she knows everything there is to know about Jenna's life. While they're at the park with Luca, Alyssa asks, how are you doing? What's going on with your life? And Jenna says she's looking for apartments, and Alyssa says for you and Aiden, and Jenna ends up saying no, just for her and Luca, because she doesn't know where her relationship would be with Aiden in the next couple of months. She says she feels like they aren't compatible anymore. In the confessional, Alyssa says that she understands why Jenna would want to move out on her own, because Jenna and Aiden's relationship was fairly new, and then adding a baby in the mix made things more complicated. But she also feels like Jenna can be naive and impulsive and go off her feelings, and she feels like Jenna doesn't know how much it really takes to move out on your own and live in your own apartment, especially since she's only 18 and she also has her own child. And she also says that since Jenna is only 18, she doesn't have any real world experience, which anyone when at 18, especially if you've just kind of always been dependent on somebody. Going back to the scene, she ended up talking to Jenna like, this is a really big step, this is really expensive, how like you have to have 3 times the rent, you have to pay your electricity and all that stuff, and just telling her like it's no easy task and it's really expensive. In the confessional, Jenna talks about how she doesn't have her own money, she gets money here and there but it's not consistent, and how she has a bank account card linked to Aiden's account. And the producers ask her does she know what credit is, and Jenna says no, she doesn't have any credit at this moment, so she really has nothing. And she thinks credit is stupid because you can't do anything without credit, but somehow you're supposed to figure out how to build it and buy these big purchases, but you have to have credit for it. This is a little off track. I just want to fast forward to present now. Jenna makes her own income now. She's found a way to monetize her social media and stuff like that. And I felt the need to say that because I think people judge Jenna a lot and they're gonna start attacking her. They already have. She even made a TikTok about it. So I figured I'd just clarify that in this day and point in time, she does have her own consistent income. And going back to the scene, her sister Alyssa tells her that Aiden carries the financial burden of their little family, which that's a lot, and it just makes the situation a lot more difficult. In the confessional, Jenna says that she knows it would hurt Aiden a lot, but she needs to figure out what she wants to do, and she says she needs to start by getting a job and having her own money. So if she does decide to leave, she can do it without a lot of financial burden. Next, we move back around to Kylan and Jason, and we go to the confessional with Kylan's parents, and they say they don't feel welcome and they feel like they need to ask Jason to come over, which I think is weird because it's Heidi's and Matt's house, so I'm not sure why they feel the need to ask Jason, but I guess he runs everything over there, so they probably do feel that way. Going to confessional with Scott and Heidi, they said that Kylan's parents are 100% welcome because they know they miss their daughter and they know that's their only daughter, so they want to spend as much time as them. So they get that, and they still continue to let Jason just run all over them. Like, I don't get it. Going back to the scene at Heidi's and Scott's house, and on the porch they have a barbecue, and they're all sitting down and talking, and Kylan's dad asks how she feels about, giving birth and having a baby. She says she's pretty chill about it, but her dad is nervous for her because having a baby is a pretty big deal, and I think a lot of people really underestimate like how much of a strain having a child can really put on your body and how much can go wrong. So I don't think she fully understands like what is about to happen. In the confessional, Kylan's mom Marie says that in the beginning they were telling her all the details about the baby, like the size of the baby, how long the baby is, and all that information, but as time went on they just stopped telling her things. Now they're just like getting these one-word answers or no answer at that. They kind of just have this nonchalant attitude, specifically Jason, where like he just doesn't care about anything, and I find it really difficult to have conversations with people like that because I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall at that point. Like, I might as well go talk to myself. But anyways, back to the segment with Kylan and Jason's parents. Kylan's parents tell them that they want to be more involved, and Jason's parents are backing them up, trying to explain to them like they deserve to be involved and they deserve to know just as much as we do, or just as general. And Jason says he feels like Kylan's parents feel that way since they live with his parents, and I guess they get a front row seat of what's going on. He goes on to say that he doesn't want to live with his parents. He wants to be independent and get his own place with Kylan and the baby, and that's why they feel that way, because they feel like his parents get to be more involved, even though that's not why they feel that way. They feel that way because you're keeping Kylan away for your own personal needs. In a confessional, Jason goes on to say that he doesn't need any advice from them. He's 18 and he's an adult and he's grown up and he's gonna be a good dad, which I don't know how I feel about that statement because I feel like it's not true. I'm not saying he's not gonna be a good dad, but that part, but I am saying that he is not as much as an adult as he thinks he is. Like, I feel like mentally he's still like 12. I don't know what happened around that age that just made him like stop growing mentally. I think him dumb, but it's very young-minded thinking, way younger than he actually is. So I'm not calling him dumb or stupid or slow, so don't take it as that. What I am saying is that someone who's 18 shouldn't have this type of mentality. But just in general, Jason is straight up delusional, so I guess it doesn't matter. Kylan's parents ask, are they mad about anything they did or didn't do or said or anything like that? And Jason says he's not mad about anything, you just don't like how pushy they are, even though they're not being pushy and they just want to see and spend time with their daughter. Then he goes on to say that he's just an independent person, which everyone's like, that's not independent, keeping family away from each other. That's not independent. That's just you being controlling, and he's not that independent though, as we can see. Because if he was, he wouldn't be living with his parents. Which, by the way, I'm just going by his logic. And midway through the conversation, Jason wants to get up and leave and go spend time with his friends. And his parents are like, family is important. Family will always be there and friends aren't. And he says, I'm an adult just like y'all are, so it would be wrong if I do it, but it's not wrong if you do it, which he thinks that makes sense, but it doesn't, because adults, reasonable adults, don't leave family gatherings to go spend time with their friends. Him and his friends are meeting up at 7 and it's around 6:50 at this time. And Kylan is still eating and she doesn't even want to go. She wants to continue to spend time with her family. And she says that these are your friends, you made plans with them. He says no, there are plans and we need to go hang out with them. And they kind of get into a small fuss about it. Then Jason's asks Kylan to go to the bathroom with her, which I thought that was really gross because like using the bathroom with somebody is just weird. But anyways, and they go to the bathroom and they close the door behind and they get into an argument about it. Next, we move on to a 3-way segment with Tiara, Tyra, and Taylor. And I really don't even want to talk about this because I seen it play on social media before the season came out. And it's so stupid. So forgive me if I don't go into much detail about this. I just think it's stupid and it really has no value to the show. So we are at Taylor's mom's house, Candace, and they're sitting on their back porch, talking, whatever, doing normal people stuff. Then Taylor's mom, Candace, brings up Tiara's Instagram post. She posted this picture like little sister coming, blah 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 blah. Then she brings up the theme of the nursery because Taylor is supposed to have a boho theme nursery, and that was her original idea first, and then I guess Tiara had stole it and made it her nursery theme, and Taylor was really upset about that. So Candace ended up going online and speaking on it because she didn't like the fact that her daughter was upset, and they had this whole online back and forth. I'll show pictures so y'all can get the gist of it, but that's basically what they talk about. But then we go to a segment with Tara and Tiara, and they're on FaceTime talking about the whole situation again and all of that and how she feels portrayed by her family because Candace and Taylor were on this long rant about how they've always tried to copy her, down to clothes, boys, shoes, anything. They always tried to copy her. So that's all they really talk about. Like I said, I'm not going much detail into it because it's stupid and it's pointless. And next we move back around to Kylan and Jason. Kylan and Jason are still in the bathroom and Kylan's upset and telling him, we had these plans way before your friends, and I don't care about your friends. And when they finally come out of the bathroom, I guess they came into agreement that they're going to go spend time with Jason's friends. But before they come back outside, Kylan and Jason's parents are talking, and Kylan's dad is explaining to Matt and Heidi that pushing your family away or your girlfriend's family is not being independent, that's just being a jerk. And Scott agrees. and he says don't be afraid to call him out. And I feel like someone else shouldn't have to call out your child. That's your job as their parent. But like I said, I don't think Jason's parents have much control at all. In the confessional, Kylan says that people talk and hang out with their parents, even if it's only 5 times a year. And Jason says exactly, but Kylan goes on to say that even if it's only 5 times a year, there isn't someone there to ruin it and take the fun out of it, which she's right. Which I think if you have a good relationship with your parents, you would hang out with them a lot more. But like I said, Jason is just in his own delusion, so he's gonna believe whatever he feels is right. Regardless around the experience that he has around him with his parents, he's always going to believe he's right, which I feel like Jason is the type of person, if you're driving off a cliff and you can see it and he can't, you'll tell him and he'll be like, we're not driving off the cliff. Then once y'all drive off the cliff, y'all are dead. So he only likes to listen to himself and not take advice from other people as well. Once they come out, they tell their parents goodbye. In the confessional, Kylan's parents have an emotional moment and they cry because it's so sad to see what Jason has turned Kylan into and how she's just so isolated and how she just seems so miserable. So how all they want to do is have a relationship with her, which it's so sad to see because I feel like everyone can see where this relationship is going and no one's doing anything or saying anything. Even the people who are watching the show and who are not there every day can even see where this relationship is going. And I wish somebody would just say something other than Kylan's parents, because they're saying the issue and saying what's wrong, but everyone's just sweeping it under the rug like it's nothing. But lastly, we move on to Emerson. Emerson is pushing, and in the confessional with Emerson and Mason says that when she got the epidural, they decided to go to sleep, and when they woke up, she was pushing. And the cameras weren't allowed, but the nurse is guiding Emerson through pushing, and Emerson is crying and yelling because I guess it's painful for her to push. Which I've never been in labor, so I don't know whether it's the contractions or the pressure from having to push. But after pushing for a little bit, she gives birth to Mateo Elias Ramirez, who was 7.8 pounds and 21 inches long, and he is the cutest baby I've ever seen. Well, not the cutest, I think I said that with a child I see, but he is definitely cute. And Emerson and Mason are so happy from having the baby with them and just feeling the joy of being a new parent and just living in the moment. And that was the end of the episode. I give it a 10 out of 10, mainly because we got to see a baby be born, and that was like the only reason why it gets a 10 out of 10. That's enough for me. So thank you for watching. Go like, comment, subscribe if you want, state your opinion if you want, and bye.